There is a particular moment in a firefight when the mathematics of the situation become undeniable. When you have counted the threats and counted your resources and done the calculation that every operator does in the space of 1 or 2 seconds and understood that the numbers are not in your favor. Noah Carter reached that moment at 0047 hours on the 3rd of March in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. His team was down. Not gone. Not lost. But down. 4 operators injured, 2 unable to move. Walsh with a round in his left shoulder that had not hit anything vital, but had taken his left arm out of the fight. Garza with a fractured ankle from the second IED that the intelligence had not placed at the eastern approach. Down. The contact was still active. 2 positions, northeast and northwest. Coordinated. Patient. The kind of contact that has calculated the geometry of the situation and found it favorable. Noah Carter looked at the geometry, then looked at Maverick. Maverick was already looking at the geometry, not at Noah, at the 2 positions, at the darkness between them, at the specific angle and distance and the particular quality of the terrain that separated the contact positions from each other and from the team. He was reading it, the way he read everything, completely, simultaneously, with the particular intelligence of a dog that does not process threats sequentially, but sees the full picture at once and understands not just what is there, but what the relationship between the things that are there means for what needs to happen next. Noah watched him and understood. There is a way through, Noah said. Maverick looked at him. Show me, Noah said. What happened in the next 47 minutes has been described in the after-action report as a single-handler, single K9 engagement that neutralized 2 coordinated contact positions while providing cover for the extraction of 4 injured operators. The after-action report uses clinical language. Clinical language does not capture what it was. This is their story. Stay with me. Before this story goes any further, if you are new here, subscribe to Cool Drama Stories right now. Hit the bell, turn on notifications, because every day we bring you a story exactly like this one. A story that will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Subscribe now. And stay with me, because this story is just beginning. Noah Carter grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, a city below sea level, a city that exists in permanent negotiation with the water that surrounds it and the water that falls on it and the water that the ground beneath it contains in quantities that make the concept of solid ground feel provisional in a way that people who grow up in drier places never quite understand. New Orleans does not pretend that the water is not there. It builds around it. It builds with it. It builds in the full knowledge that the water is always present and always patient and that the correct relationship with it is not resistance but accommodation and creativity and the particular kind of stubbornness that knows the difference between the fights worth having and the fights that the water has already won. Noah grew up in that stubbornness. His mother was a jazz musician. 20 years playing piano at venues along Frenchmen Street. The kind of musician who had developed her craft not in conservatories, but in the particular pressure cooker of live performance, in a city that has opinions about music, and that will tell you those opinions in real time, if your playing does not warrant a different response. She had learned to adapt, not to change who she was, to bring who she was into relationship with what the room was giving her, to listen to what was happening around her, and to find within the structure of what she knew how to do the response that the specific moment required. Jazz, she told Noah once when he was 14, and had asked her how she knew what to play. You listen. You find the space that exists between what has just been played and what needs to be played next. And then you play into that space, not over it, not around it, into it. Noah had been playing into spaces ever since. His father was a civil engineer, 18 years working on the levee system that protected New Orleans from the water that surrounded it. Work that was not glamorous, and that was not celebrated, and that was essential in a way that only became visible when it failed, and that Noah's father treated with the particular seriousness of someone who understood that the invisibility of good infrastructure was the point. If you did it right, nobody noticed. If you did it wrong, everybody noticed. Everything, all at once. He taught Noah the same principle. The work that matters is the work that holds, not the work that impresses. The work that holds when the pressure comes. And the pressure always comes. Noah enlisted at 22. 3 years at Tulane had given him a degree in structural engineering and a confirmation of what Frenchmen Street and the Levees had been telling him since childhood. He was built for the pressure, not for the anticipation of it, not for the planning before it, for the actual pressure, the moment when the thing you have built is being tested by exactly what it was built to resist. That moment. He lived for that moment. He passed buds on his first attempt. His class started with 97 candidates. 15 finished. Noah was one of them. His Hell Week instructor, a senior chief named Garrett, who had run 22 buds classes in 11 years, wrote this in his evaluation. Carter is the most pressure-responsive candidate I have assessed in 11 years. Not the most resilient, not the most enduring. Those qualities he has in abundance. But what distinguishes him is different. He is most himself under pressure, not in spite of it, because of it. The pressure does not diminish him. It focuses him. It clarifies him. It brings out the particular quality of intelligence and decisiveness that exists in him, but that requires the pressure to fully activate. In ordinary conditions, Carter is an exceptional candidate. Under pressure, he becomes something I do not have adequate language for. Recommend without reservation, and with the note that Carter should be placed in the highest pressure environments available. He will be different in them from what he is anywhere else. He deployed to Afghanistan in 2010, Iraq in 2012, Syria in 2014, back to Afghanistan in 2016, and Helmand Province, Afghanistan in 2018 for his 5th deployment. 5 deployments, 12 years of service. His teammates across all 5 described him with a word that appeared without exception in every account. Clutch. Not clutch like lucky. Not clutch like occasionally exceptional. Clutch like the musician who hears the space and plays into it perfectly every time. Clutch like the levee that holds when everything else is being tested. Clutch like someone who was built for the moment, and who has spent their whole life waiting for the moment to arrive, and who is most completely themselves when it does. His team leader on his 4th deployment, Commander Walsh, said this. Noah Carter changes when the situation becomes extreme. Not dramatically, not visibly. He becomes more himself. The same qualities that are present in ordinary operations become sharper, more precise, more available. As if the pressure removes everything that is not essential and leaves only what is. He told me once that his mother said, "You find the space and play into it." I think that is the most accurate description of what he does that I have encountered. The pressure creates the space, Carter finds it, and plays into it. Every time, perfectly. Maverick came into Noah's life in the winter of 2016. He was a German shepherd, 77 pounds, black and sable, with a quality that the kennel master at the Helmand facility, a woman named Rodriguez, who had been matching handler pairs for 17 years, described to Noah on the first day, in terms that she said she had never used before for any dog. He plays into the space, she said. Noah looked at her. She looked at the notation in Maverick's file. She said, "Read this first." The notation read, Maverick demonstrates a situational intelligence profile that is unprecedented in our K9 assessment history. In complex, multivariable scenarios, Maverick does not respond to individual elements of the scenario sequentially. He reads the full scenario simultaneously and identifies within it the specific action that the scenario requires, at the specific moment that the scenario requires it. Not the generally correct action, the specifically correct action for the specific moment. In 14 separate complex scenario assessments, Maverick has identified the optimal action in 12. In the 2 where he did not identify the optimal action, his action was subsequently judged as the second optimal available response. He does not respond to the scenario that exists. He responds to the scenario as it is developing. He is always one moment ahead, always playing into the space that is about to open, rather than the space that has already opened. This quality is beyond anything our training methodology has produced. It appears to be intrinsic. It cannot be taught. It can only be recognized and partnered with the handler who can use it. Noah read the notation, read it again, then looked at Rodriguez. "He hears the space before it opens," Noah said. Rodriguez stared at him. "That is the most accurate description anyone has given me," she said. In 17 years, Noah looked toward the kennels. "Take me to him," he said. Maverick was not in the kennel run. He was in the training field, not running a scenario, not being assessed, moving through the field in a pattern that did not correspond to any training protocol, and that Noah watched for 30 seconds before he understood what it was. Maverick was mapping possibilities, not the current state of the field, the possible states, the configurations that the field could move into from its current state. He was moving through the positions that would matter if the field changed, and understanding how each of those positions related to each of the others. He was reading the scenario that was about to open, not the one that was open now. Noah watched him for a long time, then walked to the field. Maverick registered his presence at 40 meters. His ears moved. His pattern adjusted slightly, not toward Noah, around him, incorporating him into the map of possibilities. At 20 meters, Maverick stopped, turned, looked at Noah, and in that look Noah saw something he had not seen in any other dog. The look of something that had already read the situation, that had already identified what it required, that had already decided, and was waiting for the execution to begin. Noah stopped. Maverick held his gaze for 5 seconds, then walked to him. Not the working position, not sitting in front of him, not pressing his forehead against him. He walked to Noah's left side, stood there, and oriented toward the field, both of them looking at the same space, the space that was about to open. Rodriguez, watching from the gate, said later that in 17 years of matching handler pairs, she had never seen a first meeting where the dog immediately placed himself in the working position at a handler's left side and oriented toward the field, without any signal from the handler. Maverick had decided, without being asked, because he had read the situation, and the situation required it. Over the following 15 months, Noah and Maverick became what the unit called the most dangerous pair in the unit. Not because of their individual abilities, though both were exceptional, because of what happened when those abilities combined. Noah heard the space before anyone else did. Maverick heard it before Noah. Together, they were consistently 2 moments ahead of any situation they were in. In 9 operations, Maverick detected 5 IED placements, tracked 4 high-value targets, neutralized 3 threats before the team had fully processed that the threats existed, and once in a compound breach that went wrong in 3 simultaneous ways in the space of 4 seconds, responded to all 3 simultaneous crises in the 4 seconds before any human operator had finished processing the first one. 3 crises, 4 seconds, all 3 addressed. The after-action report noted that Maverick's responses in those 4 seconds would have required 3 separate human operators responding simultaneously to achieve what one dog achieved alone. His teammates called him one word: jazz. Because Maverick played into the space the way Noah's mother played into the space on Frenchmen Street. Not over it, not around it, into it, perfectly, every time. At night, Maverick slept with his head up, Not the complete sleep of a dog that has switched off. The light, alert sleep of something that is resting its body while keeping its mind available. The way a jazz musician can close their eyes and still hear everything that is happening in the room and be ready to play into it at any moment. Always available. Always one moment ahead. Noah wrote to his mother once from Bagram, "There is a dog here named Maverick. He hears the space before it opens. The way you hear it on Frenchmen Street. The way you know what to play before the space exists. Because you can feel the music moving toward it. Maverick feels the situation moving toward the moment that requires him, and he is already there when it arrives. I did not think I would ever meet anyone who heard it the way you do. I was wrong. He hears it better than either of us." His mother wrote back, "Bring him home. I want to play with him." Noah read the message, looked at Maverick, sleeping with his head up, listening. "Yeah," Noah said quietly. "I think he would play well." Operation Iron Shadow came in March. 3rd of March, 2018. Outside temperature at insertion, -4 Celsius. Cloud cover 70%. Wind from the southwest at 16 miles per hour. Intermittent visibility. The kind of night where the light comes and goes, and the terrain shifts between visible and invisible, in ways that require continuous adjustment. The objective: a command and control facility, operating out of a compound 9 kilometers southeast of Lashkar Gah in Helmand Province. High value, time sensitive. The facility was coordinating 3 active networks. Taking it out would have cascading effects on operations across the province for months. The intelligence was solid. The plan was solid. The team was 6 operators plus Maverick. Walsh commanding. Noah as second. Garza on the eastern flank. 3 additional operators covering the approach and the perimeter. Noah briefed Maverick the way he always did. Not with a map, not with words. He played a scenario. Not a real one, a mental one. A deliberate activation of the full picture of what the night required, so that Maverick could read what Noah was reading and begin hearing the spaces that were going to open before the night confirmed that they existed. 3 minutes of stillness, both of them reading the same situation. Then Maverick pressed his shoulder against Noah's leg. He had heard what Noah had heard. They inserted at 2100 hours. 5 kilometers from the compound. The approach was clean for the first 2 hours. Maverick worked 30 meters ahead in the pattern that Noah had come to understand as Maverick's version of jazz. Not following a structure. Improvising within a structure. Moving through the terrain the way music moves through a key. Always within the rules. Always one moment ahead of where the rules were pointing. At 23:30 hours they reached the compound perimeter. Maverick cleared the eastern approach. 2 vibrations on the wrist device. Perimeter clear. The team breached at 23:45 hours. The facility was not as the intelligence had described it. The intelligence had placed 6 personnel in the facility. There were 11. And they had been expecting company. The firefight began the moment the second door was breached. Not a responsive firefight. A prepared one. They had known the team was coming. Not the exact time. Not the exact approach. But they had known. And they had prepared. The contact came from 2 positions simultaneously. Northeast and northwest. The geometry of it was immediately apparent to Noah. Both positions elevated. Both covering the central area of the compound where the team's breach had put them. The crossfire was not accidental. It was designed. The team took cover. Walsh went down in the 2nd minute. Left shoulder. Round passed through. He was functional, but his left arm was out. Garza went down in the 3rd minute. Eastern approach. The IED that the intelligence had not placed. Fractured ankle. Unable to move. 2 more operators with varying injuries by the 4th minute. Noah assessed. The geometry was not favorable. 2 elevated positions. Team down and pinned. Cover adequate for defense but not for extraction. The injured operators could not move to the extraction point without crossing the ground that both contact positions covered. The math was clear. Something had to change. Noah looked at Maverick. Maverick was already looking at the geometry, at the two positions, at the darkness between them, at the specific configuration of the terrain that separated the positions from each other and from the team. His ears were forward. His body was low. He was hearing the space, the one that was about to open. Noah watched him for 2 seconds, then said, "Show me." What Maverick showed Noah in the next 47 minutes has been documented in the after-action report and in Noah's debrief and in the accounts of 4 operators who were injured and pinned and who watched from their cover positions what 1 Navy SEAL and 1 German Shepherd did with the geometry of a situation that the mathematics said was not survivable. Maverick moved first, not toward the northeast position, not toward the northwest position, between them, to the specific section of the compound terrain that existed in the dead ground between the 2 elevated positions. The ground that neither position could cover simultaneously without the other position losing its angle on the team's cover position. The dead ground, the space, the gap in the music. Maverick had heard it. He moved into it. And from it he moved northeast, not toward the northeast position directly, along a route that used the dead ground as a corridor, that moved through the space the 2 positions had left between them because the positions had been designed to cover the team and not each other. They had not accounted for what could move through the space between them. They had not accounted for Maverick. He reached the base of the northeast position at 4 minutes. The northeast position did not know he was there. He did not alert them. He positioned himself at the base and looked back at Noah. Noah understood. He moved, not through the dead ground, along the western perimeter, using the cover that the western wall provided, moving in the direction that the northeast position was not watching, because the northeast position was watching the team's cover position and the dead ground, and had not considered the western perimeter, because the western perimeter was covered by the northwest position, which was now watching Maverick, because Maverick was making noise, not the noise of a dog, the specific noise of something moving through the terrain in a way that drew attention. That made itself slightly more visible than it needed to be. That created the impression of a threat at the base of the northeast position. The northwest position responded, not with fire, with attention, with the redirection of its primary focus from the western perimeter that Noah was moving along to the northeast position where the noise was. 4 seconds. Noah needed 4 seconds on the western perimeter. Maverick gave him 6. Noah reached the base of the northwest position at 7 minutes. He did not go over it. He went around it, to the specific feature on its southern face that the position's design had not covered. Because the position's design had assumed the approach would come from the north, and the south was covered by the northeast position. The northeast position was watching Maverick. The northwest position's southern face was uncovered. Noah went through it. The northwest position was neutralized at 8 minutes. Maverick moved the moment the northwest position went silent. Not toward the team's cover position. Toward the northeast position from the west. The direction the northeast position had not covered because the west was where the northwest position had been. The northeast position heard him coming. They were not ready for what was coming from the west. The northeast position was neutralized at 11 minutes. 11 minutes. 2 elevated coordinated contact positions. 1 Navy SEAL, 1 German Shepherd. Playing into the spaces the other had created. The way music plays into the space that the previous note leaves behind. The extraction took 36 minutes. 4 injured operators, 2 unable to move independently. Walsh with the shoulder, Garza with the ankle. 2 more with lesser injuries that impaired their movement but did not eliminate it. Noah managed the extraction, with Walsh directing from his cover position and providing communication support with his functional right arm, and Maverick covering the extraction route. Not the route they had come in on. A different route. The route that Maverick had been mapping in the 4 seconds before Noah said, "Show me." The route through the compound terrain that used the features the contact positions had left uncovered, because the contact positions had been designed to cover the approach and had not considered what would be needed for an extraction from inside the compound. Maverick had considered it. He had heard that space too. The extraction was clean. All 6 operators reached the extraction point. The helicopter arrived at 0230 hours. Walsh looked at Noah before they boarded. "He did that," Walsh said. "He heard where the spaces were," Noah said. Walsh looked at Maverick. Maverick was looking at the compound they had come from, still reading it, still hearing whatever the situation was developing toward next. Walsh said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Your mother plays jazz," he said. Noah looked at him. "Yeah," Noah said. Walsh looked at Maverick. "Bring her to meet him when this is over," he said. Noah looked at Maverick. "I will," he said. "If this story is moving you, and I believe it is, take 5 seconds right now. Hit the like button. Subscribe to Cool Drama Stories if you haven't already. Every like tells YouTube that this story deserves to be heard by more people, and there are more people who need to hear it. Hit like right now, and let's keep going, because the best part of this story is still ahead." The after-action report for Operation Iron Shadow was reviewed at 3 levels above the standard review process, not because of what went wrong, because of what went right. The relevant section reads, K-9 Maverick and Petty Officer Carter executed a 2-element flanking maneuver against 2 coordinated elevated contact positions that had pinned a 6-person team with 4 casualties. The maneuver was conducted without prior planning, without communication between the 2 elements beyond an initial exchange of 2 words, and without any element of the maneuver existing in any standard tactical manual. The maneuver succeeded because Maverick identified the dead ground between the 2 contact positions and moved into it before Carter had communicated his own assessment of the tactical picture. Carter observed Maverick's movement and understood from it what Maverick had identified. The subsequent maneuver was coordinated through Maverick's movement rather than through explicit communication. Carter moved in response to what Maverick created. Maverick moved in response to what Carter needed. The result was a maneuver that required 2 elements to be simultaneously aware of the full tactical picture and to execute their respective components at the precise moments that the other's component created the opportunity. The 2 elements achieved this level of coordination without a plan, because both elements were reading the same situation and hearing the same spaces at the same time. The reviewing officer's note at the end of the report reads, "I have been in special operations for 22 years. I have reviewed thousands of after-action reports. I have never reviewed a report that described a tactical improvisation of this complexity executed with this degree of precision by 2 elements that communicated in 2 words. The word I keep returning to is jazz. I do not know if that is the right word. I know it is the closest one I have." Noah completed the remaining 7 weeks of his 5th deployment. Walsh's shoulder healed in 12 weeks, Garza's ankle in 14. The other 2 operators in 4 and 6 respectively. All of them came home. Noah filed his separation papers on the last day of the deployment. 12 years, 5 deployments, complete. He filed Maverick's adoption papers the same morning. Not as a decision, as an acknowledgement of something that had been true since the first day on the training field in Helmand Province, when Maverick had walked to his left side and oriented toward the field, and both of them had read the same situation and heard the same spaces. Maverick was coming home, to New Orleans, to Frenchmen Street, to the city below sea level that existed in permanent negotiation with the water, and that had taught Noah's family for generations that the correct response to the thing you cannot control is not resistance, but creativity and stubbornness, and the willingness to find the space that is about to open, and play into it before it has fully opened.
Rodriguez signed the transfer, looked at Noah. 2 words, she said. Show me, Noah said. Rodriguez looked at Maverick. He had already moved to the door of the kennel master's office, orienting toward the outside, toward the field that was on the other side. Reading it, hearing it, already 1 moment ahead. She nodded. Yeah, she said. Show me.
Noah flew home to New Orleans in June. His mother was at the airport. She was wearing the same expression she always wore when Noah came home. The one that contained everything she had been holding for the deployment and that she released in the first moment of seeing him. Then she looked at Maverick, and the expression changed. Noah set the carrier down and opened the door. Maverick walked out, stood, read the terminal for 3 seconds, then oriented toward Noah's mother. Not toward her directly, toward the space between them. The space that was about to be crossed. The space that the situation required. He heard it, then moved into it, walked to her, stood at her left side, and oriented toward the terminal, both of them looking at the same space. His mother looked at Noah. He plays left, she said. Noah smiled. He always plays left, he said. His mother looked at the terminal. Then she did something that Noah has never seen her do with anyone except other musicians. She hummed. Just a phrase, for notes. The opening of something that did not have a name. Maverick's ears moved. He turned and looked at her. She played the phrase again, in her head, without sound. Maverick took 2 steps toward her, pressed his forehead against her hand. She stood very still, put her hand on his head. He hears it, she said quietly. Noah looked at Maverick. He always hears it, Noah said. His mother was quiet for a long time. Then she said, you know what jazz is really about? Noah looked at her. It is not about the notes you play, she said. It is about the relationship between the notes. The space between them. The moment before the next note arrives, when anything is possible, and the right musician can feel exactly what that anything needs to be. She looked at Maverick. He lives in that moment, she said. The moment before. The space between what is and what is about to be. Noah looked at Maverick. He does, Noah said. He always has. His mother looked at her son. So do you, she said. Today Noah Carter lives in New Orleans, Louisiana, 2 blocks from Frenchmen Street, 6 blocks from the Treme, in a city that has been accommodating the impossible for 300 years, and that has built in that accommodation something that nobody planned, and nobody could have planned. Something that is only possible when you stop fighting what you cannot control, and start finding the spaces within it and playing into them. He works in crisis response consulting, teaching the organizations and the agencies and the people who are called to the moments when the mathematics of the situation become undeniable, how to find the spaces that the mathematics leave. Because the mathematics always leave spaces, if you know how to hear them. He is exceptional at it. His clients say he has a quality that most crisis response professionals develop over decades, if they develop it at all. He is always 1 moment ahead, not in a supernatural sense, in the sense of someone who has spent their whole life listening to the situation move toward the moment it requires, and who has learned to be ready at that moment, not by planning for it, but by being continuously available to hear it arrive. He plays into the space, every time. Maverick works with him. In the training sessions, in the field exercises, in the real situations that the consulting work occasionally requires him to be physically present for. He is most himself in the complex ones, the ones with multiple simultaneous variables, the ones where the situation is developing faster than most people can process it, the ones where the spaces are narrow and brief and require someone who is already 1 moment ahead to find them. Maverick finds them, every time. Noah's mother plays Frenchmen Street most Thursday nights. Maverick comes. He sits at the side of the stage and listens. And when the music moves toward a space that is about to open, his ears go forward. Just slightly. Just enough. The musician who can hear it, and the dog who can hear it, and the space between the notes where anything is possible. And the right musician can feel exactly what that anything needs to be. Noah watches this happen from the back of the room, and thinks about a compound in Helmand province, and two elevated positions, and the dead ground between them, and a German shepherd who heard the space before Noah had finished assessing whether it existed, and moved into it, and created from it everything that followed. He told Walsh about the Thursday nights once. Walsh was quiet for a long time, then said, "That is the most New Orleans thing I have ever heard." Noah smiled. "Yeah," he said. "It is." Walsh said, "Does he like jazz?" Noah looked at Maverick, on the stage, at his mother's left side, ears forward, hearing. "He loves it," Noah said. Walsh said, "I believe that. Some bonds are not made in training. They are not made in the briefing room or the kennel or the after-action report that uses the word jazz, because it is the closest word available. They are made in the recognition. The moment on a training field in Helmand province when a German shepherd walks to a man's left side and orients toward the field, and both of them read the same situation and hear the same spaces at the same time, and understand, without a word, without a plan, without anything except the particular intelligence they share and the complete trust that comes from sharing it, that they are playing the same music, and that the music has a space in it that is about to open, and that they are going to play into it, together. Noah Carter and Maverick spent 47 minutes in a compound in Helmand province playing into the spaces that a situation that should not have been survivable was leaving between its notes. And the music held. All 6 operators came home, because Maverick heard the space before it opened, and Noah trusted what he heard, and both of them played into it, perfectly, the way the best music always does, not by fighting what the situation is, by finding within it the space that it is offering, and playing into that space, with everything you have. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Cool Drama Stories right now if you haven't already. Hit the bell. Turn on every notification. Because tomorrow, we have another story that is going to hit you just as hard as this one. Maybe harder. This is Cool Drama Stories. And we are just getting started. Subscribe now. The next story is already waiting.